We extend a warm welcome to you all at the World Sustainable Development Summit 2019 thematic track on data to policy, data-driven and smart transport safety policies. We are indeed honored and are privileged to have our distinguished speaker on the days this afternoon with us. Before we commence our inaugural session, I would request Shri Amit Kumar, Senior Fellow and Senior Director Terry, to felicitate our speakers. Shri S. Sundar, Dr. Gitam Tiwari, Shri Girish Pillai. Dr. Gitam Tiwari. Thank you. I would now invite Shri Amit Kumar, Senior Fellow, Senior Director Terry, for his welcome address. Shri Amit Kumar is a gold medalist, mechanical engineering, with specialization in thermal engineering from IIT Roorkee. He is currently the Senior Program Director of Knowledge Resource Center, Project Management Unit Terry, and the Senior Director of Center for Impact Evaluation and Center Energy Access, Rural Energy and Livelihood Division. His area of research focuses on energy access and rural development. He leads research activities both national and international in the fields of renewable energy and resource-efficient process technology applications. He has been working on the development and diffusion of cleaner technologies for about 35 years. His exposure combines different facets of renewable energy industry and research. He was involved in South-South cooperation in Africa and Pacific Islands. He also coordinated the ambitious and prestigious Sustainable Energy for All Capacity Building Hub. Sir, please.
Thank you very much for your very kind introduction. Actually, you should have included in the list of senior, one more senior citizen. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this particular thematic session of World Sustainable Development Summit. In fact, this is 19 in the series of Sustainable Development Summits, and I have been privileged to attend all of them right from the beginning. Now, this is a topic which experts are sitting here, experts are there. I am not at all an expert either of data or of the transport sector, forget about the smart transport. But yes, as a citizen, I do get impacted by what has been designed as policies for transports. So why have been actually being so concerned with data-driven policy for quite some time? Policies is not something which were not formulated earlier. Decisions were not that they were not made earlier. Many times they were based on empirical examples or on anecdotal things. So why such a hue and cry about why data is not being imbibed into this whole process? And as a lay person, I would think that probably there are two things which have changed over the years. And one of them is actually the magnitude. So if you look at magnitude of vehicular population that is adding up to because of the population per se, and also add to that vehicular population that is increasing because of likes of e-commerce. Millions of vehicles are being added actually because of that only. And of course, we are not bringing into discourse the pedestrians and non-motorized vehicles at all, which to my mind should be actually one of the keystones of this whole discourse. In fact, I do remember that whenever we get a chance to move out of India, how easy for us is to walk miles and miles without any worry. And why it's so? Because everything is designed in such a fashion that it gives space to pedestrians, it gives a safety to pedestrians. So the magnitude is something which is actually driving us to data. And second is the complexity. Now, why complexity? So many agencies that are being involved in designing these so-called policies. And I'm emphasizing on the fact so-called because to me at times it looks like that those are for the namesake policies only. So for example, I stay in neighborhood of Delhi in Gurgaon. So if I look at the agencies that are involved in managing traffic and coming out with traffic related policies, there are many. There would be, of course, traffic police. It should be there. Then there is municipal corporation. Then there is Haryana Urban Development Agency. Then there are private developers. And of course, now Gurgaon Metropolitan Development Agency is also there. So whatever data we are actually gathering, because we do tend to gather some data, but those data, A, the quality of the data at times itself is suspect, and B, that those data are so fragmented that in order to get a worthwhile outcome out of that, interpretation out of that becomes so difficult. So until unless we are able to bring all this data and generate data which actually help us in understanding the insights of what is happening on the traffic front, on the traffic safety front, and also able to give us trends on which then we can decide the policies. And we also, in fact, I start why only policies, right from the engineering of the traffic systems and the road itself is determined by the quality of data and which type of data we have been able to gather. So I think until unless we reach a situation where all of these fragmentation is actually papered over, the agencies collaborate with each other, real, very meaningful decisions or the policies around traffic safety is very difficult to formulate, and that's what is happening. So what we think in TERI that there is a requirement to develop or set up a platform, a national platform, which actually helps gathering all these data and collate and analyze those data. But when I say national level traffic safety data platform, what I also want to add to that is that that collaborative platform should also be able to help the lowest level of local government to come out with its own specific problem related solutions. So this is what we intend to discuss in this thematic session, to see that whether we can come out with a framework around which this kind of data could be gathered and collected, and how, if we think that such a national traffic safety related data platform is a necessity, how to go about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We are indeed honored to have our respected sir, Shri Sundar, with us this afternoon to address us. Shri Sundar is an alumnus of the University of Madras and serves as Distinguished Fellow at TERI, and Emeritus Professor, Department of Policy Studies at TERI School of Advanced Studies. Prior to joining TERI, Mr. Sundar was with the Indian Administrative Service, to which he was appointed in 1963, where he held senior positions in industry and finance with both the state of Gujarat and the government of India. He was also with the Commonwealth Secretariat in London for 8 years, first as special advisor and then as the director of the Economic and Legal Advisory Services Division, which was the consulting arm of the Commonwealth Secretariat. Mr. Sundar is currently on the Governing Council of the Sustainable Low Carbon Transport Partnership, sponsored by ADB and established under UNDSA, and a member of the expert group of the Asian Environmentally Sustainable Transport Forum. He was a member of the National Transport Development Policy Committee, chaired by Dr. Rakesh Mohan. He also serves as honorary professor, CEPT University, Ahmedabad, and has been a distinguished visiting professor at the Faculty of Law, University of Toronto. He is one of the 3 members of the Road Safety Committee constituted by Supreme Court under the chairmanship of Justice K.S. Radhakrishnan. Sir, please.
Having been a civil servant, sitting has become a habit, because of all my years in government I've spent on a sedentary job. Now standing, even for the purpose of speaking, has become difficult. Thank you for your words of welcome. If you take so much time to welcome each speaker, I think half the session would be spent just on welcoming. Of all the systems that we as people have to face on a day-to-day basis. Perhaps road transport is the most complex and most unsafe system of transport. The tragedy behind the regularly occurring road accidents, road crashes, receives less attention both from the media and the public, because unlike other crashes like air crashes or train accidents, which are more unusual, less frequent, more sensational, because road accidents are scattered both spatially and temporally. Road accidents or road safety has now become a major equity issue, inasmuch as in most developing countries, it is the vulnerable section of the population that is exposed to road accidents. A large percentage of the victims are the vulnerable road users. Road safety is also a major public health issue, as it is the 5th or 6th largest cause of deaths in India, almost 1 every 4 minutes. While there are structured programs to deal with diseases like tuberculosis, malaria, AIDS, adequately funded with lead agencies to implement these programs, we have no similar structure for road accidents or road safety. It is high time to start implementing programs to promote road safety on the basis of the public health approach of identifying problems, identifying on the basis of evidence appropriate solutions, and then evaluating the interventions on the basis of the actual reduction in fatalities. One of the fundamental requirements for the public health approach is the availability of good quality, reliable, sustainable data. The data in respect of road accidents is still a major problem. The data is not computerized in most states, whereas air accident data is comprehensively maintained by the DGCA. Rail accident data is comprehensively maintained by the Rail Board. There is no one agency in India which maintains road accident data in a comprehensive manner. Road accident data is maintained in different formats by the states in whose jurisdiction these accidents occur. Not all road accidents are also reported, often because of the unwillingness of those involved to file police cases. Deaths that occur some days after a road accident are not registered or reported as accident-related deaths. There is often a significant disparity between the data furnished by the hospitals and the data furnished by the police. The crash investigation procedures are also faulty, and there is a tendency to attribute road crashes to the driver's failure or brake failure. The data recorded by the police in respect of a car accident victim, a pedestrian killed by a car, is shown as a car victim and not as a pedestrian. India's road statistics show a very small percentage of pedestrian deaths, and that is not in accordance with the reality. Road accidents are reported by the police as an FIR, and not all the policemen in a station are trained to record road accidents in an authentic manner. In fact, Some years ago, the ministry's annual report on road accidents carried a report from one of the states south of India saying that some deaths in that state had occurred due to snow. The snow in the south of India is something that one has never heard of. What the poor policeman meant was frost, but he was not trained to identify the difference between frost and snow. We should, I think, seriously consider training some policemen in every station to record road accidents and use only those trained personnel for the purpose. Data by itself has no value unless it is used for analysis to provide evidence for the interventions to be chosen. Unfortunately, we tend to adopt the findings, the strategies used by the West, which is not relevant at all to the Indian situation. Unfortunately, again, neither at the national level nor at the level of the states do we have models or analytical tools or arrangements to analyze the data and design strategies to reduce road accidents. For example, removal of black spots is drawing a lot of attention in India, and the government is spending a lot of money on that program. It is, of course, very, very important. But when you analyze the data, you will find that black spots contribute only to about 10 to 12% of the total fatalities. We tend to ignore the remaining 80 and odd percent. Again, a lot of attention is paid to correcting, engineering or improving the curved roads, roads on hilly tracks, etc. Now this is again very important because there are several of our states which are hilly states, and tracks on those states do lead to fatalities, and action should be taken to prevent these. But at the same time, we must not forget that over 60% of the fatalities occur in plain, straight roads, largely due to overspeeding, and this is not something that we are paying enough attention to. Until recently, road safety was not on the agenda of the states. Responsibility for road safety was fragmented between governments and within governments. Inadequacy of funds prevented most activities to be undertaken, and whatever funds were allocated were largely spent during the road safety week, drawing up slogans, paintings on the wall. We as Indians tend to believe that if a minister sweeps symbolically a piece of the road during the anti-malaria week, malaria will be ended forever. And that has been the approach as far as road safety has also been concerned. But now, with the intervention of the Supreme Court in a very active manner, the states have discovered that road safety is a pandemic that has to be combated with a strategy, with data, with interventions based on data. All the states have established lead agencies in some form or the other. All the states have established road safety funds to ensure that inadequacy of funds is no longer an obstacle. The states have also begun to strengthen the 4 Ds, namely engineering, enforcement, education, and emergency care or trauma care. But what they still lack is the ability to collate data in a steady, authentic manner, and the ability to analyze that data and identify interventions based on that analysis or on that evidence that the analysis produces. I hope that this session that will follow will show the way. I also hope that institutes like TERI and IIT would work with the states to help them to maintain authentic databases and, more importantly, to analyze the data to provide evidence for the interventions that they need to take. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would now invite our second keynote speaker, Dr. Gidam Tiwari. Dr. Tiwari is Ministry of Urban Development Chair Professor for Transport Planning, Department of Civil Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. She teaches transportation planning, traffic engineering, and transport economics and finance to master's and bachelor students, apart from guiding PhD students working in the area of transport planning, safety, and non-motorized transport. Dr. Tiwari is an alumnus of Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, and School of Urban Planning and Policy, University of Illinois at Chicago, where she did her PhD in public policy analysis. Over to you, madam.
So good afternoon. I must thank Terry and Mr. Sankar and Mr. Sri Prakash for inviting me here. So this is the topic. I mean, we are in research institute, so we have to work with data all the time. And we've been looking at safety data very closely. So let me start with this first. If you are looking for what kind of data is required for setting up standards. And in traffic safety, we're looking at standards of different kinds. We can have road design standards. We're just looking at road cross-section. There are different standards for roadside furnitures, crash barriers on highways. That's a different kind of data required. And of course, then for vehicle safety, we need different kinds of data to set vehicle safety standards, which is basically what should be the standards for different components and materials used in vehicles. But the most important data that really starts, it's how to understand the epidemiology of crashes. Where is it happening? Who is getting affected? And that is the starting point. So in this figure that is in front of you, I've tried to summarize what is the current understanding of researchers working in this field, as well as from the countries who have been successful in reducing traffic crashes. And we continue to have many countries where the graph is still increasing. So as you can see in this graph, the first important thing is this base. There are different levels of data required for different things that we are wanting to do. From the same data, not everything is required. So let me just explain a little bit in more detail. Primary level or the base level is the data that we expect for all crashes to be present. And since only the police has this mandate to go to the crash site and start the process, this data comes from traffic police. So the important thing, what is represented here in the figure is, not too many details are required to be collected by traffic police. Their mandate is not doing research and not doing this kind of setting standards. Their mandate is to simply collect all the data, and of course the mandate is to take it to the court. It's a legal process. That is what the traffic police have been trained, not in India, world over. So therefore, to understand the epidemiology, we start from this level. And in next few slides, I will show you what are the current problems our experience has been in India, and then how people have tried to solve in different countries. Second level is the intermediate data, and this intermediate, as it is represented here, we need more details, but not for all crashes. So specialist experts can actually have statistical experts. They can draw logical samples from the base level data. And therefore, for the second level, we are looking at more details. What are these more details? For traffic safety, of course, we want to know the modal shares. We want to know some little bit more detail about what the design of the road was. We would like to know what were the speeds. So this, we don't expect traffic police to collect. this is coming from some traffic engineers. There can be some, so either these are traffic engineers, or the second very important data also comes from hospitals. Hospital data is also start telling us the kind of injury which is happening to different kind of victims. So the most important thing is second level data is only based on sample of the first level data, and that gives us very good scientific evidence to design our traffic management strategies. This data is good enough for designing road cross sections, but not vehicle standards. Tertiary level data, as you can see, it's represented here that requires really in-depth analysis. This is the work of very, very specialized groups. So even just single civil engineer cannot do it. These are multidisciplinary specialized groups, and they require only few crashes and just get into detailed analysis of that. Based on this, today we have all the computer models, finite element models, which can reconstruct the crashes. And by doing that reconstruction, experts try to find out which portion of the vehicle was impacting the vehicle, what kind of injuries were happening. And based on that, today we have all the vehicle design standards, we have seat belt specifications, we have airbag specifications, and the way the modern car is being designed today. That is not based on, so we don't need that kind of in-depth data for all the 150,000 accidents that we are having in India. So this is one of the most important things to understand. The levels are different for different standards. So vehicle standards, so let me just quickly tell you how it is happening in India. Traffic police is collecting the primary level data. Who's doing the secondary level data? Some efforts have started in some hospitals. I think Dr. Gaurav Gupta will share with us a little later what kinds of efforts, but much more needs to be done. As far as other data is concerned, traffic modal share speeds, some research groups are doing on its own, whoever is interested in it. There is no specialized group really looking into this. And the third level data, in India we have only one group so far, RASI, which has been funded by a consortium of vehicle manufacturers. And it's a private group, so they are trying to build this very detailed, in-depth data. So in next few slides, now I will share with you most of the issues that we have been coming across in the primary level data only in India. Because as I explained, the secondary and tertiary level data is not at the same level that exists in many other countries in India. So this is the data. This is a total number of crashes. It is a total number of, so two numbers are shown here, total fatalities and fatalities per 100,000 population. If it's a public health problem, this is the best indicator to look into. What are the number of fatalities per 100,000 population? And this data is being collected by base source is traffic police. That data then is collected by states and eventually published by Ministry of Roads and Highways. And the same data is also being used by state crime, district crime record bureaus, state crime record bureau, and finally it appears in National Crime Record Bureau table. So that is the same data. According to this now, for 2017, we have 147,913 persons killed, and the injury reported is 4.7 lakhs. So one of the issues that researchers point out here is, if we look at the countries where this data, the primary level data is little better, injury in our case is heavily underreported. So in all countries, both can be underreported. The only issue is it more or less? So we expect that injuries should be at least 20 times more than the fatalities. So that is not happening here. Few quick numbers here. For India, GBD, Global Burden of Disease Study, estimates something between 253,000 deaths per year. So this you can see is many more than what the government statistics is. And their methodology is different. World Health Organization, WHO report of 2018 reports 200 and nearly 300,000 deaths in India. And again, their methodologies, it builds on GBD, plus it is adding few other sources also. And then there is another study, which is actually Registrar General of India study. It's called Million Death Study. This is based on oral autopsies of million households. And this study is also reporting 47 to 64%. This is the range, higher than the reported statistics we have. So I think the bottom line is we are missing a lot of fatalities. And injury, of course, we already know that is heavily underreported. So most countries have tried to first get the fatal crashes as close to reality as possible, because injury for various reasons continues to be underreported in most places. Second, for policies, of course, we need total numbers, but for more targeted policies, first step we want to understand is who are the victims? Is it pedestrian, bicyclists, people inside the cars, or motorized two-wheeler in our case? So again, you can see here a lot of discrepancy here now. So there are 4 different sources shown to you. This one, Ministry of Roads and Highways report. I think the only thing I want to point out, just look at the number of pedestrian deaths reported in all 4 sources. So MORTH is saying about 10%, and GB, and then all the other 3 sources. Global Burden of Disease, Hasio et al.'s Million Death Study, Registrar General of India, and the 4th one is IIT Delhi estimates. So our estimates, IIT Delhi estimates, are also based on police records. Our source is also police, only the method is different. For our study, we have read each and every first information report. And after reading that, we code who was the victim and which was the impacting vehicle. So when you do this detailed reading, you end up finding, now you see the proportion just of pedestrians reported in fatal crashes varies hugely as compared to the government statistics. I think partly this is what Mr. Sundar also mentioned, that in our government statistics we are missing out. Somehow there is some problem in coding. And so several efforts have been done to correct it. And 2017 we were hoping that it should be slightly better. But 2017 MORTH report is giving now pedestrian deaths as 13% only. So it is still underreported. So I think we have to work a little harder to improve this now. For states, this aggregate number, I think only thing to be pointed out is that we find both, I mean, these are 2 years compared here, 1996 and 2016. And we find that Tamil Nadu, Himachal Pradesh, Haryana, Karnataka, AP have very high rates. And since we are talking about data and improving our methods of collection, so out of this, Tamil Nadu, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Kerala and Karnataka have attempted electronic collection of data and recording for many years. If I recall correctly, first I had seen Bangalore in 1993 electronic database, and then Kerala in early 2000, Tamil Nadu in 2010 and Himachal Pradesh in 2015. But there is still some problem with that. And we look at million deaths reported in the report for million plus cities. And I think the worrying part is this only, that for a lot of cities, and they are spread all over, small cities, north, south, east, west, the death rates have increased 2 to 4 times. So this is very worrying and we really have to do. Now let's look at this data discrepancy a little bit more, I will highlight. So for the same cities, Agra, Amritsar, these 6 cities we looked at these tables as reported in National Crime Record Bureau report. And for the same cities, we had gone and collected FIRs for 3 to 5 years. It's not 1 year data. And then we matched, so we found that Agra was in 2015, NCRB says 0 pedestrian deaths. Bhopal, so you see these numbers in front of you. And then when we compared the 3-year data that we had got, so we may have also missed some, but the proportions should be okay because we are looking at 3-year data. Again, we find that in no city, pedestrians are less than 30%. So this, and the source is the same for both. So this is what now we have to understand, where the coding is a problem. So there have been several efforts. Ministry, I looked up, Transport Advisory Council of 1939 recommended a standardized format, both for reporting and recording. This was revised by Indian Roads Congress in 1982, A1 and A4 format. Then Ministry of Roads and Highways in 1994. IRC again revised it in 2012. And then most recently, MORTH also again has issued a new format in 2017. So format, the importance of standardized format has been recognized and several efforts have been made. So we still need to do more. Electronic database also, I told you. MAP was introduced in Bangalore in 93, Kerala Data Management System in 2004. Tamil Nadu has had since 2010 Road Accident Data Management System, so where 3 different departments are working together. And then now most recently, IMAP has been introduced in Himachal Pradesh. So electronic database is there, but I'll just quickly highlight, because this RADMSS in Tamil Nadu we had looked at in much detail. And in theory, it looks very nice that within 24 hours, all information should be uploaded. RTO is coordinating, NHAI is coordinating, the missing information comes from there. But when we did detailed evaluation, we found that location, so good thing is location of crashes is they are able to identify correctly, because now it is based on GPS instruments and lat long. But when we tried to find out total number of deaths using different tables, we every time got different number. So we still have to find out how this total number of deaths is being calculated here. Type of impacting vehicle cannot be extracted from this database. It's there, but that table is not being generated right now. And most important, for targeted policies, we need victim versus impacting vehicle matrix. How many pedestrians were hit by cars? How many motorized two-wheelers were hit by trucks? That is not coming. So conventional process, in fact in this also, the conventional process continues, and in electronic database also, their policeman is being asked to identify a traffic, single cause which caused the crash, which is what researchers don't accept. So there are various sources available now. We have to understand. I have only 2 minutes, so I'm going to rush now. Of course, now, so very basic, if location is recorded correctly by traffic police, then we can do a lot of nice analysis. And finally, my recommendation is, based on all this several years of work here, first thing we have to attempt for primary level, we have to improve and simplify the police recording. Not ask them to record too many details, because then the errors happen. So the crucial things, which is just for epidemiology, just ask them to do that. Whether they do it manually or electronically, that is a secondary thing. If it's electronic, of course, it's much easier to extract. But even if we do it manually, simpler and more accurate, it is better. But secondary and tertiary, which is what is required for road standards, crash barriers, vehicle standards, etc., I think this we have to work completely differently. State level data centers, where just fatal crash data, just like they have done in US and many other countries, FARS data, you have to just take fatal data, use some specialist and improve that database. Then fatal crash data quality can be checked at regional or state level, and that can be stored in central database. The more publicly it becomes available to researchers, we start using it. If there are discrepancies, that comes out. And eventually then we have to have, I mean, RASI is only one private organization collecting for tertiary level, but we really have to establish more research centers, academic institutes, research institutes, because only they can collect this tertiary level data. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I now invite Shri Girish Pillai for his keynote address. Shri Girish Pillai is currently the member traffic Railway Board. Prior to this, he was General Manager, West Central Railways, Jabalpur. He is an Indian Railway Traffic Services officer of 1980 batch. During his long career, Shri Girish Pillai has held several important assignments in the Ministry of Railways. Over to you, sir.
Mr. Sundar, Professor Geetam Tiwari, Mr. Shankar, distinguished audience. Mr. Shankar just warned me that I should take limited time, so that's an advantage for me. Well, our topic today is data to policy, data-driven and smart transport policies. I'll just split it into two. One is data-driven transport safety policies, and another smart transport safety policies. In the railways, from the day we join the railways, we are exposed to data. Some people have the data. Currently, we have therefore short-term data, medium-term data, long-term data. The working in the railways on a day-to-day basis is again very largely data-based. We are normally aware of what happened yesterday, what happened last week, from the point of view of day-to-day operations, from the point of view of safety. We have what is called an accident manual, which prescribes the entire methodology of how safety data is to be maintained in the railways, which the accident manual keeps getting revised. So we have all the time very current data about not only the transportation, but also safety. One of the things which I would like to mention is that over the years, there has been a huge evolution when it comes to the way data is maintained in the railways. In the old days, even when the company railways were there in India and we had rail companies, even at that time, the British thought that data is very important. So they created a system in which data between the various company railways was also maintained. There was a separate organization to see that the data between the company railways is maintained well. They used to maintain huge manual records for those data, which in due course, after independence, when the railways were united or reorganized, we started having a computerized system, which started, I think, in the 1960s, which also went through a process of evolution. And now we have a very robust safety data system on the freight transport called the Freight Operations Information System. Now, this has the entire system of working of the railways on a day-to-day basis, from which we derive various reports, whether it is on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a monthly basis, pertaining to every type of flow of data. So we in the railways believe that we have an abundance of data, and the challenge is really to make sense out of it and work smartly, which I think is also the topic of the day, to how to have smart transportation safety policies. So I would not like to get sort of very much into the mass of data, but stay above the data and try to describe the picture as such of how we look at data and what we do for safety and what are the areas when it comes to safety policies that we are able to derive or benefit from the data. One of the things that we have in the railways, which is a very strong thing, is the asset utilization data. Now, this is again very closely related to safety because based on the asset utilization, we plan the safety renewals of various assets. So if the asset utilization data is not correct, it in turn affects our investment in the asset renewal in the asset renewals. And believe me, we spend a lot of money on asset renewals in the railways every year. In our, whether it is what we call in the railways our plan expenditure or our revenue expenditure, both put together, roughly we spent, say last year, maybe around close to 65,000 crores. So that is a lot of money. And there are certain big areas where we spend money when it comes to safety based on, again, data. One is the renewal of our network or track. This is where we spend a lot of money. Then our bridges, our signals and telecom installations, all these call for investments, again based on utilization data. The Freight Operations Information System is today one of the very effective tools by which we monitor not only the day-to-day operations, but we are also able to have figures regarding the volume of traffic in a particular section, because on different routes, different dense routes, not so dense routes, it is important to have correct data. So we have the online Freight Operations Information System, which gives all the data to us. For example, we have a system by which we renew the assets based on what is called gross ton kilometers carried. So this is again a very important data which is required for renewal of our track assets. And based on these availability of data, and based on the density of routes, just to give you an example, we renew our rails, say from every 12 to 13 years to even up to 20 years, depending on the density of the traffic there. Another very important initiative which I must mention is that, again, over a period of time, when we take stock of the position of investment in safety-related things and our safety policies, we find the issue of investment in safety exclusively for safety. Here again, the railways took a decision sometime in about 2002-03 to have a special railway safety fund. And again, last year, 2017-18 onwards, we have what is called a Rashtriya Rail Sanraksha Kosh, which is a 1 lakh crore fund, where we will have an investment of 20,000 crores every year on safety-related works. This is again a kind of a contributory fund, with 5,000 crores contributed by the Indian Railways from its own resources, 5,000 from the Ministry of Finance through our gross budgetary support, and 10,000 crores is again from what we call the road safety cess, which comes to the railway. So we have a plan for the next 5 years to spend 20,000 crores through a special fund. This would, of course, be in addition to our other funds, other sources of revenue and plan expenditure. Again, just to quickly talk about data and how it relates to safety policies and smart safety policies, we have and we look at data of what we call train kilometers. This gives us on each route what is the movement of train for passenger and freight. We have these train kilometers. The other area is that when we come to a little bit of micro level, we have now on every station of Indian Railways what is called data loggers. I'm just specially making a mention of it. because this is again one of our thing which is related to safety. Whenever any untoward incident happens on the railways, say perhaps at a station, we have today the facility that we are able to play back the movement of the train which happened there and know exactly what went wrong. That is, we are able to, it's like a recording which is available, so we are able to play the recording and see where mistake was committed, if at all, or whether it was on some other reason or a reason which was not mentioned at all. The another very important thing, since there was a lot of mention about the roads, I need to mention another area where safety policies have been crucial in the railways is in the area of level crossing gates, the interaction between road and rail. We found that a very large percentage of our accidents happen at unmanned level crossing gates. This again was information which is available, which we got from our data. I also need to mention that some years back we developed an online system of accidents called Safety Information Management System. My colleague Advisor Safety Railway Board is here, so maybe he'll talk about the accident figures and the safety information system. But the Safety Information Management System, what we call SIMS in the railways, has the details of every accident or untoward happening on the railways, and the railways in the field are expected to key in this data the moment any untoward incident happens. The other, so the level, I was talking about level crossings, so I mentioned about SIMS in between. The level crossing gates, one of the decisions that the railways took is to eliminate all unmanned level crossing gates, and you would have heard in the press and in other statements that the unmanned level crossing gates have been eliminated. But talking of smart transport policies, just eliminating the unmanned level crossing gate is not the final picture. We have again, based on data, we have information of what is the train vehicle unit, which is actually a multiplication of the number of road vehicles and the train movements in a period of 24 hours. We have that data for every level crossing gate on the railways. And we have a system that beyond a certain point, the gates, whether they qualify for a road over bridge, which will be a contributory effort between the state government and the railways. Similarly, the level crossing gates, we also have a criteria, again based on data, purely on data, about whether we should, what we call, interlock the gate, which means that whether we should provide signals at the gate, which is again a very, very important safety issue in the railways, because those gates which are provided with signals are much safer or almost fail-safe compared to a gate which is not provided with signals but has got a man who's monitoring it. So there is an element of, there's a human element in those gates which have a man but no signals, and there is virtually no human element in the gates which have a man but also signals. In the railways, our systems are well laid down because we have a huge volume, being the largest passenger carrier railway in the world and the fourth largest freight railway in the world. Our entire operations, which is not so much in the public eye, so to say, are managed based on systems that have been laid down over the years and have been evolved with much thought. So we have, just to give you a few examples, like we have what is called the coaching information system. Control office application is one, which again maps every movement of every train on a chart. So that's again an online system which is available. We have for the passenger train movements one ICMS, integrated coach management system, which again gives us, so ICMS and control office applications give us the entire gamut of train movement. We also have to look at the health of the track, we have what is called a track management system. Again, it's a very comprehensive system which covers every single work which is done on the track. It is updated with, so when people look at the track management system, they are able to know that in a particular section, whether some work is required to be done or not. So these are things which help us to go through our day-to-day working, not only our day-to-day working, but also the medium-term and long-term plans. Railways all over the world have made a lot of advancement, and in keeping with that, we have our own areas where we have technological advancement, be it in the case of monitoring track or monitoring what we call in the railways as the rolling stock, which is because we have the track and we have something moving on the track. So it's necessary to maintain the track, it's necessary to maintain and monitor the track as far as safety is concerned. Equally important is monitoring the safety of the assets which are moving on the track. So in both areas, we have huge amount of data. Just to give a small example again, when it comes to say freight movement, we have a system, what we call periodic maintenance. For say every 30 days, a freight train is to be examined fully, and then it can run either for 7,500 kilometers or 30 days. When we talk of increasing our traffic volumes, there is a challenge both for making sure that the assets are utilized optimally, more and more intensively, and also the thing of making sure that we do not falter on safety, and we maintain the right balance between having safety and also increasing the volumes and movement. So we have a large number of data-driven initiatives when it comes to monitoring various aspects of train movement, various aspects of renewals of assets, and that is something which it keeps evolving and keeps improving as we go along. As I was mentioning, that the safety monitoring that we do on the data which comes to us is something which keeps improving. I would things keep evolving in a major way every 3 to 4 years. We have changes in our systems, whether it is by way of monitoring, whether it is by way of investing in the specific areas where the concern comes out of various data that we get. To conclude, let me again say that it is one thing to have a lot of data, and we have huge data in every aspect of railway working. It is quite another thing to work on the data smartly. So I would like to conclude by saying that when it comes to working smartly on data, particularly in those organizations which have huge amount of data, it would be a continuing challenge both to the ingenuity of the people working in the organization as also technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would now invite Mr. T.P. Shankar, Fellow Knowledge Resource Center, TERI, to propose the vote of thanks.
Take 2 minutes. Sri Girish Pillai, Member Traffic Railway Board and Secretary to Government of India. Sri S. Sundar, Distinguished Fellow, TERI and Emeritus Professor, TERI School of Advanced Studies, Dr. Geetam Tiwari, MOUD Chair Professor for Transport Planning, Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Delhi, Mr. Amit Kumar, Senior Director, TERI, our most valued speakers, distinguished guests, delegates from various institutions here together, ladies and gentlemen, It's a great privilege to propose a vote of thanks to all the dignitaries on this occasion. To begin with, I wish to briefly express a few words about TERI. Deeply committed to every aspect of sustainable development, TERI works on sustainability issues across a range of subjects, namely rural and urban development, energy, environment, climate change, sustainable transport system, and poverty alleviation. The range of activities undertaken include research, assistance to state and city governments, training and capacity building, exchange of experiences concerning best practices and options, and information dissemination. The Knowledge Resource Center at TERI emphasizes on knowledge generation, creation, and global dissemination of TERI's research and innovation on energy, environment, and sustainable development. Its objectives are fulfilled through innovative library and knowledge services, documentation, managing TERI's vast knowledge, research, data, and publication services. The Knowledge Resource Center supports TERI's research activities through a well-designed, state-of-the-art, intranet-based knowledge management system. As for the structure of this track, we have yet another important session coming up, which will focus on setting up reliable, harmonized, and comparable transport safety data system that is essential to strengthen evidence-based policy framework and research. The results from the deliberations will be used to develop an understanding of the present system of reporting, data collection, and dissemination, prepare guidelines for greater collaboration and improving road safety data quality, and highlight effective policies to improve road safety in cities. I, on behalf of TERI, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the distinguished guests on the dais, our most valued speakers, distinguished guests, and our esteemed participants who have taken keen interest to participate in this workshop. I take this opportunity to express our sincere thanks to Mr. Girish Pillai, Mr. S. Sundar, Professor Geetam Tiwari, Mr. Taj Hassan, Special Commissioner of Police Traffic, Delhi, Mrs. Babni Lal, Economic Advisor, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, Government of India, Mr. Vinod Kumar, Principal Executive Director, Safety, Railway Board, Dr. Gaurav Gupta, National Professional Officer, World Health Organization, Dr. Pravesh Biani, Assistant Professor, Indraprastha Institute of Information Technology, Delhi, and Dr. Ruchi Verma, Global Fellow, Dalai Lama Fellows, for gracing this occasion. I wish to express my gratitude to Mr. Sri Prakash, Mr. S. Sundar, Mr. Amit Kumar, Dr. P.K. Bhattacharya, Mr. Ravind Kumar for their guidance, intellectual inputs, and for providing encouragement at every point of time in the organization of this event, and of course the entire team at the Knowledge Resource Center. We would like to place on record our sincere gratitude to Niti Aayog, Government of India, for providing the opportunity to organize this important event. At the end, distinguished guests on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, once again we are most grateful to you all, and thank you for being with us this evening. It has been a great pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. With this, we conclude the inaugural session of this workshop. We will now quickly move on to our presentation cum panel discussion. Setting up reliable, harmonized, and comparable transport safety data systems is essential to strengthen evidence-based policy framework and research. This session will be chaired by Mr. Sri Prakash, Distinguished Fellow, Transport and Urban Governance. Panelist includes, as Mr. Shankar has already Our panelist includes Srimati Bapni Lal, Senior Advisor and Additional Secretary, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways; Shri Taj Hassan, Special Commissioner of Police; Shri Vinod Kumar, Principal Executive Director, Safety Railway Board; Dr. Gaurav Gupta, National Professional Officer; Dr. Pravesh Biani, Assistant Professor, Indraprastha Institute of Information Technology, Delhi; Srimati Ruchi Verma, Global Fellow, Dalai Lama Fellows. This presentation cum panel discussion will be chaired by Sri Prakash, Mr. Sri Prakash, Distinguished Fellow, Transport and Urban Governance, TERI. Mr. Prakash joined TERI in July 2011 as Distinguished Fellow after long and distinguished services in Indian Railways. His association with TERI goes back to 2003-04 as a visiting senior fellow. His career with the Indian Railways spanned over 37 years, where he held numerous key positions in different zonal railways and railway board. Mr. Prakash retired as member traffic, Indian Railway Board, and secretary to Government of India in December 2009. Upon retirement, he was appointed as chairman, standing high Powered Committee on Infrastructure Planning, Business Development, and Project Monitoring on Indian Railways. During his tenure, the committee prepared a comprehensive report on future strategies for Indian Railways. As Member Traffic, Mr. Prakash was head of Traffic Department in Ministry of Railways and responsible for commercial, operating, and marketing functions and management of freight and passenger business on Indian Railways. In addition, he also held supplementary assignments and was chairman of various public sector undertakings such as Container Corporation of India, Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation Limited, and Pipavev Railway Corporation Limited, and he was also chairman of the Executive Committee, Center for Railway Information Systems. Over to you, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. We don't have enough time. We had three very elaborate, I would say, and educative keynote addresses from railways, talking about the road, as well as the academic. So this, we have got fairly good idea. That is, will not waste my time in introducing the subject to you. And as you see that the distinguished panel is consisting of both experience as well as the young researchers. And being very old now, not old, but they say that up to 80 you are still middle-aged. So though I am not old, middle-aged, still middle-aged. Now, but still, you know that many things which even Girish talked about, though I am a career railway man, Girish talked about, was not known to me. Because in my time, or in the times in which I have spent in the government, the most of decision making was based on either your intuitive knowledge or as Professor Tiwari mentioned, it was based on the conceptual as well as the anecdotal. Now, even the data was available, it was very limited availability was there, and in many cases data was just not available. It is like difference between a clinical diagnosis and the diagnosis based on the modern medical sciences, where a lot of tests you undergo and then they make it in the diagnosis as well as based on the experience, which is the results into clinical diagnosis. And in last few years particularly, in fact, even 3-4 years, and every day we find that new systems are getting generated, new data, which data was already there as mentioned, but it is getting collated. In railways, it has been different because railways is basically a vertical organization where everything, the construction, maintenance, and operation is done by only one agency. But road is completely different. The construction, maintenance of the roads is done by other agencies, and of course the motor vehicles, and then how if the accident happens, then it is managed by the other agencies, government agencies. Now that is why, though their data is there, but it is in very disaggregated form, and then getting a very meaningful analysis which can be input to a policy making would be difficult. Now, since I don't have much time, I will introduce the distinguished panel one by one. And the first speaker, which I wanted to be Mrs. Babni Lal, but since Mr. Taj Hassan has to go for an important meeting, so that he will be speaking first. But this Mrs. Babni Lal is basically a Indian Economic Service Officer, and presently she is senior advisor as well as additional secretary in Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, and responsible for not only for the information collection but also for the analyzing them in a meaningful form. Now the other speaker is Mr. Taj Hassan. Mr. Taj Hassan is a Indian Police Service officer and very senior officer of 1987 batch. He has a wide experience of handling law and order crime, VIP security, traffic management, etc. And today they'll be talking about traffic accidents, the data, and then how he's managing and because he's presently managing the traffic in the Delhi, and that is basically it is quite a difficult task. Now we also have Mr. Vinod Kumar, who is Principal Executive Director, Railways. And Mr. Vinod Kumar is a very senior officer of 1984 batch. Now, he has a varied experience in railways in different departments. And currently, for last few years, he is also looking into the safety on Indian railways. Now we have here Dr. Gaurav Gupta. Dr. Gaurav Gupta is with World Health Organization as a National Professional Officer for Injury and Disability Prevention. In fact, I will be very happy to interact with him because as Professor Tiwari also mentioned that he has a lot of things to talk about. And Dr. Pravesh Biani, he is an assistant professor in IIIT, and he has done a PhD from IIT Delhi. I'm not very sure with Professor Tiwari. Yeah, computer science. Now you see that Pravesh, basically I have been interacting with him for quite some time. And I find that he's not only a very energetic researcher, but he's also, that interested in new things, that looking into, and many times he has heated arguments with me because that we are not able to see eye to eye on many times, many points. And of course, the last speaker, Miss Ruchi Verma. She's a very keen researcher and in the transport area. And we have interacted with her, and in fact, she has been part of our many research projects. This Ruchi would be the last speaker. Now, though I wanted Mrs. Lal to speak first, but I will request Mr. Taj Hassan because he is to go. But one thing which, since we don't have enough time, my request will be to initial remarks should be limited only to 5 minutes so that we have enough time for the interactions. Mr. Taj Hassan.
Respected chair and panelists, members from the audience. As you have seen the presentation by Madam Geetam Tiwari, the basic data is collected by traffic police with regard to local police, not traffic police, with regard to road accident. Because basis of this data is FIR. The FIR is registered. As she has said, the basic information is registered in that. Of course, we collect a lot of data. I agree with her that traffic police is, the investigating officer is asked to collect many, many data, which is difficult and sometimes quite often also it is not available there. Then there is a judgment by High Court, Delhi High Court, in which after that we also collected data called detailed accident report. The purpose of this data is basically to claim the insurance by the victim. And then it goes to the MACT court, and there the victim's family is given the money from the insurance company. 2 points. Fatal accidents, it is difficult to hide the data because somebody is dead. The dead body goes to the for postmortem. So maybe Only in those cases in which I'm telling you by the practical experience, in which the person is totally unknown and there is no claimant. So sometimes, like in Kashmiri Gate, you will see a lot of people are sleeping on the road. They die because of starvation, because of the sun stroke, and because of the cold. So maybe sometimes it may be sent to that head, but when there is a dead body, there is no hiding of the case. Yes, simple accident. There is a major problem. A lot of people with simple injuries, they ask police to settle things out of the court. Ask the aggressor vehicle to pay money for treatment, repair the vehicle. So in that cases, the cases are not registered. So these two basic things. But about this national data, I'll show you a small presentation. This is the situation about daily traffic scenario. The number of vehicle has increased 179% as compared to 48% increase of population from 2007. So we have a huge challenge. We have around 1 crore 8 lakh vehicles registered in Delhi. So the time will come, and each year there are 7 lakhs vehicle registered in Delhi, 2200 vehicle each day. So the time will come, you will have only vehicle, no road. And major cause of accidents, the maintenance part, the road conditions, lack of lights. So when we see actually traffic accident, we should see also overall picture of the traffic environment. The repair, the digging part, the signages kept when they're digging, all the time you will see there are some road is dug up. There is some subway being made. And it is a huge strain on the traffic police. And then road environment is poor light condition. In outer Delhi, street lights are not available, the road would be slippery. And there is a huge pedestrian movement. We have a huge population. They cross the road. There are many places there is no central verge. And so the people, despite having FOB, quite often they cross and they don't wait that they should go take the FOB or subway. They just pass the road. And at that situation, there are around more than 20 types of vehicle of varying speed. And that is one issue which we have to handle, because we have to even see this ITO, there is a sky bridge, but the utility of that sky bridge is very minimum, whereas people transfer from this lane to another lane. And mechanical fault, of course, is the issue of research, how they have to devise, but we have issues on that account, and heterogeneous mix of traffic. This is the picture, India, whereas this traffic accident, fatal accident basically increased. Simple accidents, I said, many cases are not registered, agree. Basically, a lot of people want to sort out issues out of court. And Delhi, it has reduced, but last 2 years, there is a slight increase in this fatal accidents and number of people killed. This is the slide. This is the scenario, unknown vehicle. This is a hit and run case in which vehicle number is not noted. It's 46%. It is 217's data. Car 14%, buses 6%, HTV 13%, two-wheeler 10%. So sizable number, we find it difficult to fix the responsibility which vehicle caused the accident. Then 47% is pedestrian. This is the sizable number which she was also saying that the number is very high. As per our data analysis of 2017, 47% pedestrian and 34% two-wheelers. This is an important aspect because pedestrian safety is important and pedestrian facilities are also important. This time-wise, primarily it starts just before midnight and till 2 o'clock, prime time and early morning. This is the time when pedestrian number is less and the vehicle speed increases. So we have to plan enforcement strategies accordingly. We have to deploy people in the night or the speed calming measures. This is the night and day divisions, more accidents in the night. This is the month-wise accident. You can see March shows increase, April shows increase, and then October shows increase. More people on the footpath, more people moving. Then road-wise also we calculate our data, and most of the this ring road, outer ring road, Rohtak road, GTK road, and mainly national highway passing through the city. As I mentioned, pedestrian facility is one of the main things. We take up issues with the PWD on these issues. Speed calming measures are necessary. This FOB on footpaths, cycle tracks, these are lacking. There are ongoing projects. The problem is that ongoing projects get constructed, but the pedestrian facilities are constructed at the last. So the problem is then the traffic collides with the pedestrian movement. Illumination, then this is a continuous process of making speed calming measures, rumble strips, and the grills to stop the pedestrian crossing. These are the few photographs of the what facilities we have in our city. Obstruction, taxi stand, juggies on the road, unplanned ramp. These are the interventions we do, speed calming, nose protection, but most of the agencies are road owning agencies which they do. We are the feedback mechanism. And of course, it takes time to get the job done. On the basis of data, we have this MORTH format, we have our own format. We analyze this data, prepare fortnightly, and we also publish annual report, which is available on our traffic police website. We identify black spots, conduct a study. Now Delhi government has made the road safety committee, in which traffic police is one of the important stakeholder. We take up the issues there. They are also reviewing, but most of our prosecution strategies are worked on these basis. Then there are proposals like 230 proposals sent to the land owning agencies. Even painting of road markings are also required. Drunken driving, those enforcement strategies which affect the traffic, we take care of that. Annual road accident bullet we have published in 2017. This would be available on our website. It is open for anyone. One can have access to it. But besides this, our challenges in road safety basically is the steep number in the motor vehicle, private vehicle. That is the main challenge we are facing, and the congestion is increasing. Sooner we have to decide that the private vehicle, there should be a restriction on private vehicle, but at the same time there should be emphasis on public transport. Presently the share is around 0.45%. Road network has not increased. Parking space, of course, when you will prioritize public transport, you would require more parking space, and nobody can satisfy that. So it's a strategy mixed with together. And we have a lot of issues with the commercial establishment in the mixed land, which was not supposed to be having commercial establishment, but it has come, and it has created a lot of traffic issues with us. NMV is almost non-existing. Wherever it is there, it is in a way that people can't use it. It is in patches. Then issues related to road engineering. You would have seen each year during the rains, Delhi stops. Because all flyover, under the flyover, the vehicle is, the water logging is there, and around hundreds of such water logging places, we keep on informing our control room to the land owning agencies. Proper freight management policies, it's a challenges. There's only one Sanjay Gandhi Transport Nagar from where the trucks stop, and then the supply goes to the smaller other parts of the city. Technology is still, we are facing with this issue. Just I'll take a few minutes, because when you have camera oriented challan system, and then you communicate to the offender or the violator, then you have to send, presently we send through paper notice. Say 100 rupees is the fine, the price of sending that notice to that person is around 27 rupees. And quite often that address is changed. In Delhi, suppose you live in Dwarika, suppose you have better financial condition, you shift to Vasant Kunj. And we don't inform to the document that record that we have shifted. So most of these notices are unserved. What we are planning, taking up with the Morth also, to have the telephone number linked with the vehicle number, so that we can communicate this violation through SMS and keep the data on our URL. But there is no legal support in a sense. As per the present situation, CRPC doesn't require communication of someone, things like that electronically. It has to be through notices, pages. So we are working on that. And even the data is not available. We are taking up with the transport department and the Morth also, and trying to link with the insurance data. So at least private vehicles don't go to the registration authority each year, whereas the public vehicles, commercial vehicles, they go. So the data issue is also with us, but this is our one, because this ITMS or intelligent traffic system will be only successful when we have the legal support as well as the data support. This is the challenges which we are highlighting. Public transport has to increase, otherwise the time will come, vehicles will be there on the road. Personalized mode of transport, some of those countries which you have sorted or the traffic issues, they reduce the private vehicles and increase the public transport's reach, like Singapore or Seoul. Land usages policies makes traffic situation very confusing. Freight management policy, there is a this DDA is working on 2041 plan, 2021 plan also. 3 of the freight management issues couldn't work. Then road traffic infrastructure and some congestion charges also the government has to think. Pre-licensing scrutiny, anyway there are a lot of mechanisms, now it is being worked. This telephone data is very important if you want to introduce the technology for prosecution or enforcement of law. Even we were supporting this idea that working from home, staggered office hours may be given a thought. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taj Hassan. Mr. Hassan mentioned about that how the data is being used for the improving the traffic safety in Delhi. Now the next speaker would be Mrs. Babni Lal, and she would be talking about the country's perspective, because she is the...
Good afternoon to you all, respected panelists, respected chair, panelists, and delegates. I'll try and hasten the presentation because I think we have limited time. So I'm going to be speaking to you on giving you a road accident statistics overview and the challenges and issues in data management. So data is the new oil. It is needed for informed policy decisions in all sectors, and also including in road transport and highways. Data requirements for road transport and highways include data on road network, inventory of road conditions, traffic studies, vehicle fleet, passenger movement, freight movement, accidents, revenue from taxes on vehicles and tolls. I think something's happened. Can I go to the next, please? Yeah. Investments made in various categories of roads with public and private sector, connectivity layouts giving habitations which remain to be connected, use per kilometer of bitumen, steel, cement, etc., employment generation potential of various road projects, performance of SRTUs, etc. This is the body of data requirement in Morth. I mean, this is not exhaustive. There may be some others also. As far as TRW is concerned, TRW is a Transport Research Wing, is a skeletal unit of the Morth, endeavoring to meet some of these data requirements. We bring out 4 publications. One is the Basic Road Statistics, which provides data on the road networks, including national highways, state highways, district, other roads, etc. Road Transport Yearbook, which brings out data on the vehicles moving on both transport and non-transport sector. Road accidents in India, which is basically in discussion today. All accident-related information. And review of performance of state undertakings. There are other items like traffic studies, passenger movement, freight movement, inventory of road conditions, which are decentralized and are carried out by consultants on a project basis. So I'm just trying to give you an overview on data. These are the 4 publications which are brought out by us. Aspects of inventory of road condition, connectivity layouts giving segments which need to be connected, investments by the ministry in various categories are maintained by NHAI and MORTH ministry. It is certainly, in certain other cases, ministry, we commission studies, for instance, when you want to know things like what is the potential of highway construction. We have commissioned IIT Kanpur for carrying out a study on the employment potential of highway construction. Similarly, for socioeconomic costs of accidents, we have commissioned IIT Delhi to carry out a study. So this is the manner in which data is being procured for MORTH. Now I'll speak a few slides on road accidents 2017. This document brings out road accidents, of course, is a leading cause of injuries, deaths, and disabilities in the country. And this document contains various facets of road accidents in bringing out details up to the state level, UT level, and million city level. We do not bring out information in respect of districts. Now these are, those are going to be some of the critiques of the data that we have. Information for road accidents is collected from police headquarters of the various states. This is the methodology that we deploy is that we actually send out circulate 18 schedules, which have actually been vetted by an expert committee, which is headed by IIT Delhi, IIT Kharagpur, WHO. So we have PWD, health departments, and they have sat together and devised these formats, and these formats are circulated to the state police departments, as Mr. Taj Hassan also mentioned to you. And then the data is reported back to us at this stage manually and is then aggregated in TRW, and the report is brought out. The 2017 report is the latest report that we have brought out. We are in 2019, which tells you that we have a lag of a year involved in this. According to this, the number of accidents are 4,64,910. Deaths are also given there, 1,47,913, about 32% of the accidents. And persons injured are 4,70,975. On everyday basis, it implies 405 persons killed on Indian roads every day. And every hour, about 17 persons are killed. This is quite draconian. The report shows actually that the number of accidents have gone down for the last 2 years. The persons injured, persons killed have also come down. Persons injured have also come down, but accidents severity has increased. Accident severity is number of persons killed per 100 accidents, which is telling you about the problem. These are the cross-country comparisons. It tells you Russian Federation. Now, if you will notice that, you see, one of the issues which is going to come up is that of harmonization of data. The formats in which we produce our information, we collect information, and the format in which international documents report information are not, there's no harmony. So it's very difficult, it's very difficult to bring out meaningful research and bring out meaningful analysis from these documents. However, based on the World Road Statistics for 2017, we find Russian Federation, the number of people killed per lakh of population is 16 as against 11 reported for India, and that's what the statistics say. The report also brings out that there have been 15,742 less accidents, and if you look at There are about 13 states which have recorded more accidents, which include UP, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, the ones which are with the negative sign. I'll try to show you this. With the negative sign here, there are 13 states which have been actually showing more road accidents. I'll jump on these slides. This is about the intercity comparison. It talks about the cities tend to account for about 17.7% of road accidents and 11.5% of those killed in road accidents out of the total. This brings out that if you look at the national highways, I'm sorry, I'm not very good with this. Yeah. So this brings out, this is national highways are accounting for 36% of the total persons killed, and about 30% of road accidents, and persons injured are also about 30%. So national highways account for less than 2% of the total road length, but they account for about 36% of the persons being killed as per the statistics that has been reported. This has actually focused the attention of the ministry on what is happening on national highways and why such a significant numbers are dying there. The data also brings out, that the major killer in terms of persons killed, about 33% of the person killed are two-wheelers, and about 18.2% are, if you see the last line is about 18.2% is, number of people killed are in cars, and about 13.8% are the people and pedestrians. Geetam mentioned that, they expect this figure to be much more, and we'll start looking at it, but this is what the current figures are. Now, but these are shown to be the major areas of concern, and hence, our safety drives have been included as far as, two-wheelers are concerned, helmet wearing and your seat belts, and for pedestrians, now we are talking about having separate pathways, cycle tracks, etc., and walkways, etc. This is the data on potholes, and it shows that almost about 2%, if you look at the year 2017, this is potholes, deaths are increasing in terms of accidents, in terms of those killed and those injured, have all gone up in the case of potholes, which again points to the fact that we need to pay attention as to why the maintenance of potholes is not happening. This is an area of concern, and the Supreme Court Committee is looking into it and is questioning the state governments on it. So these are the broad statistics which the report throws, which actually focuses policy interventions. This brings out that, it shows, if you look at it, the number of people in the productive age group account for 87% of the total number of people dying, that is between 18 to 60. And about 13% are, of course, in the unproductive age group. So this is also makes it an area of concern. So similarly, now I'll just come to the issues and challenges in data management. Data should ideally conform to standard measures of data integrity, timeliness, accuracy, and coverage. As I mentioned, as far as coverage goes, we are just covering, our statistics covers states, UTs, and cities. We are not able to capture the position at the district level. That limits the use of this data at the district level for intervention. As far as timeliness of data goes, there is a setback. We have to collect information from all the states and UTs, and there is so much follow-up, and because we don't have any legal or statutory backing for collection of this data, and it is very difficult. We use all kinds of things and persuasion to get this information, and hence there is this gap that we face in collecting data in time. there is also the issue of accuracy. I mean, it has been brought out, and we have been hearing many a time, within the state level, within the state itself, there is discrepancy between what is reported by the Crime Records Bureau and the state police departments. There is discrepancy at, there is a mismatch, as has been brought out. I think probably Geetam did that. Ministry of the WHO data reports almost twice the number of killings than is reported by us. So there is a need for harmonizing data. There is a need for having similar formats of reporting, because we waste a lot of time because of lack of harmony in reporting. So now TRW, data on accident, the most important issue, which is really topical now, is that TRW, data on accidents, is not evidence-based. It is not available on real-time basis. It is limited to questions raised in the formats. It is not dynamic and is dependent on the value judgment of police collecting this information. It is not evidence-based. So what is happening is that, as has been mentioned even by Mr. Ashraf, that Mr. Taj Hassan, that the policeman goes onto the site and collects data. And there's a lot of data he collects, and sometimes he comes back to his office and he puts in data. The kind of, there are some thumb rules that he uses for filling up the data, so there is the reliability of that information. And even though he has to report on the formats that we have to give, some of it, reporting is done by him on memory basis. It's not evidence-based, so we need a picture. We need a picture. We need a picture on the, to actually get good decisions, good managerial decisions. We need we need information on what was the, what the condition of the road was, whether there was a pothole, whether, all kinds of, that is the kind of information we need. So we need evidence-based reporting. So, so in the case of, so the government has been looking around, and we have been informed recently in the case of Himachal Pradesh, they have adopted the Transport Research Laboratories program, IMAP. Now this is a GIS-based system, and it captures all relevant information through a tablet. The policeman is given a tablet, he goes there and he sort of, there itself he starts feeding in information, and there itself he takes some pictures. He has, he's given a tablet, and where he gets the information, so on real-time basis he is getting the information. That information gets transmitted simultaneously to multiple users in the state, whether it's the PWD, the health department. And this report itself generates dynamic reports and enables decisions to be taken on the countermeasures to be undertaken at the district level. So this system is capturing data till the district level, till the tehsil level, wherever the accident happens. So this is a very fine and a detailed form. The ministry has actually floated an RFP and has also got expressions of interest on this, and is working on, trying to implement this system across the country. It will take some time. I understand it's going to take 5 to 6 years, but we are well on the road of trying to come to, a position with a GIS real-time information system. So data, as far as other reports go, we have similar kind of, we have been faced with similar problems. As I mentioned, in the case of basic road statistics, we collect data from almost 200 users and 200 sources, and our information really gets delayed because of that. As far as road transport book goes, we have been asked, we used to bring out data on registered vehicles, but now we have been asked to actually, we want to know what are the number of vehicles which are actually in use, because some of them may have been, may have fallen in disuse because of age or whatever. So we have been told that we are not bringing out the best statistics. Now, We have tried to slowly also try to start publishing data on the number of vehicles actually in use. No mechanism for undertaking systematic origin-destination studies for freight moved by road or passenger movement exists at the national level. Much useful data collected at the central and state level stays unused for being inaccessible from a centralized system in a standardized format. It just limits, yes, I'm just done. So, yeah, just finish. Yes, I'm just... So there is a need for collaborating with national as well as international players and putting in place harmonized systems so that research and comparisons are possible. There is a need for sharing information on best practices, technology, and strengthening of infrastructure of TRW, and bringing in more technically qualified manpower. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lal. Now I request Mr. Vinod Kumar, the Principal Executive Director, Safety Railway Board. And my request to all of the remaining speakers is, because I have already got a message that next session is ready to go. Now, only just mention about key points, and I'm very keen on having interaction, so that if we get some few minutes at least for interaction.
Good afternoon. First of all, I thank Terry in general and my revered seniors, Mr. Shri Prakash and Mr. Shankar, for giving me this opportunity to talk here. In fact, the topic which has been given to me is railway safety and data policy. And in fact, you will all agree that aviation sector, I think the safety is the best. The accidents happen very few and far in between. And road accidents, they are happening so many. Railway accidents happen in between sometimes. But whenever they happen, they actually attract a lot of attention and concern. Many officers and many people in the railways, they say, why railway accidents attract so much of attention? Why media is so much after railway accidents and railways as such? But I always say that it is because the public, the users, they expect so much from railways. They expect so much from the railway safety. That's why they talk so much and they are so concerned about railway accidents. So I'll just give you a very brief picture about the railway safety in a very brief manner. So of course, this is the outline of presentation. The key statistics and growth of Indian Railways, safety organizations on Indian Railways, safety at a glance, trends and data, areas of safety concern, and what measures are being taken to enhance the safety, and MIS application which is already there, and what is the integration of safety data we are going to do. As you can see, this is the total, we have just tried to capture this Indian Railways network in this map, and this is the, as you know, the Indian Railways is the India's national railway system operated by Ministry of Railways. It manages the 4th largest railway network in the world by size, with 121,000 kilometers of total track over 67,368 routes per kilometer. And it operated across 68 divisions of 17 general railways. There I have just given the key figures. Of course, the 17 zones, 68 divisions, 7,000 plus railway stations, so many locomotives and passenger service vehicles. Just two figures I like to your attention, that the originating passengers, they are 8,116 millions. That is around almost 22 million passengers per day. So that's a huge number, because if you see the airlines all put together, they carry around 117 million passengers per year. So it means, as it appears, the railways will carry in 5 days as many passengers as all the airlines put together carry in a year. In addition to that, the railways also carry almost more than 1 billion tons of traffic. In total, almost 25 to 26,000 trains per day they are running on this network. And here we see what has been the growth of the infrastructure versus what is the growth in the traffic which has been carried. You see the total track kilometers has increased from 1950-51 to 17-18 by 34%. Passenger kilometers has gone up by 1,670%. Freight carried in million tons has gone up by 1,488.4%. As a result, there is a tremendous pressure on the total network, and as you can see, these blue lines, these are the golden quadrilateral and golden diagonals. These are the eight important routes as such, which carry 16% of the route kilometers, but they are carrying 52% of passenger and 58% of freight. So here, again, the safety gets involved here because so much of pressure on the infrastructure is there. But all said and done, safety remains the uppermost concern of the Indian Railways as such. And we have got various departments which are looking after different assets like track, the rolling stock, signal and telecommunication. All these departments, they are all, carrying the safety activities, maintenance, etc. in their own domain. They have got their own, standards, their own procedures for maintenance. They are training their people, and all of them working in a very cohesive manner so that overall safety in the train operation is ensured. But in addition to all this, there is a safety department, a very, very well established and oiled department in the Indian Railways, and that is actually what maybe, from the talk up to now, I find that railway is different from the road sector, because here, from all the beginning, there is a safety department which operates at the railway board level, which operates at the zonal railway level, and which operates at the divisional railway officers. And this is something called in-house watchdog and safety auditor. They are inspectors, and they also investigate the accidents. Very serious accidents, they are investigated by an independent authority called Commissioner of Railway Safety, who is under Ministry of Civil Aviation. And here, normally the chairman railway board, he is overall in charge of safety, assisted by principal executive director safety, the post which I am actually at present on. And we have got a Jones safety officers, general manager is the head. At the divisional level, it is a divisional railway manager, and there also we have got senior divisional safety officers. These are all accident classification, but we will be talking about the very serious, that is called consequential train accidents here. Here we can see the safety trends of accidents historical perspective, right from 60-61. These figures, if you see, in various categories like collision, derailments, level crossing accidents, fire, miscellaneous accidents, total. And the last figure, which is very important, is accident per million train kilometers. If you see, the figures of these accidents has been coming down drastically. From 60-61, 2,131, they have come to 73 last year. Though last year we had, some very serious accidents at Pokhran, Rura, and Koneru, but overall number was 73. And if you see the accident per million train kilometer, it has come down steadily from 5.50 to 0.06. And today also, because there's further reduction in the accidents, it is 0.05 now. This is again the same, accident per million train kilometer. And this is a comparison of Indian Railways accident statistics with International Railway System, which has been done by International Union of Railways, UIC. Here if you find, these are 2012 figures. The Indian Railway at that time was 0.20. And of course, it was quite good compared to so many other railways, and little lower than the European railways. The best was, I think, Ireland and Luxembourg, which is 0.00. But mind it, they are very small systems. Fatalities also have been fortunately coming down. Of course, there is no direct correlation between an accident and fatalities. But last year, the fatalities also has come down to 57 compared to 238 last year. And it is a direct consequence of, reduction in accidents also. Here I just want your attention to these figures, because we classify this cause-wise analysis we do of consecutive train accidents, failure of railway staff. This is where the railway staff is found responsible for not maintaining the assets properly, for doing some shortcuts, etc. And that is almost 50.84. Failure of other than railway staff, 35.94 from 14 to 18. This is what mainly what Mr. Girish Pillai has spoken at unmanned railway accidents, where the road users didn't take proper precaution and there was an accident between the road vehicle and the train. And the last, very bad accident was somewhere in July near Gorakhpur, where a school van carrying school children, it collided with the train, and there was almost 13 children, they had died. And then a decision was taken by the Ministry of Railways that we will be removing all the unmanned railway level crossings, and that has been done. A record 3,500 unmanned LC gates has been removed in this very year, compared to an average of 1,000 to 1,200 in the recent past. Now, failure of equipment, sabotage, combination of factors, these are all factors, but these two, causes, failure of railway staff. Here, I feel that a lot of things have to be done by railways in the area of training of the staff, then in the area of bringing the safety first culture, which is being done, and third thing is to bring the technology. There are various, things for reducing different type of accidents, derailments, collision, fire, and other steps which are being done. Then improving the human resources by training, that is again I just talked about. And railway, Rashtriya Rail Suraksha Kosh, which Mr. Girish Pillai also talked about, that around 1 lakh crore to be spent over the 5 years, 20,000 crores per year. That is being done to renew the assets which are overdue for renewal, etc. Now I'll be coming, so I'll just say that I don't know whether I've been able to, give you a assuaging picture that it is not that railways are totally very accident prone, very unsafe mode and all that. The things have been improving with such a big system. Accidents happen, and our constant effort is there to see that they will be further coming down in future too. We are taking a lot of help from the data, and there are different type of data which are already being there. As Mr. Girish Pillai also said, that safety information management system that is now in place for the last around 10 years, in which we are capturing right from the division, right from the field, all the accident database, inspections and audit data, and then different departments have got their own management, information system, like track management system, in which they are capturing all sort of track inspections, monitoring their maintenance, control operation application, etc. In this, the only thing which we are actually of late have been doing, because so much of data is being captured by different, this information management system, like in track, in rolling stock, etc. We are trying to bring all that to a one common platform under the safety information management system, so that this system, after integration of all this data, start giving us some predictive analysis as to what is going wrong where. And this, process has already been started, and I think in the next around 1 year or so, we'll be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vinod Kumar. Yeah. Now, we had very exhaustive presentations, the 3 presentations, and a large number of participants for the next event are waiting outside. Now, there are still 3 speakers, but I'm sorry that I will not be able to give them rather adequate time, not any time rather, but just I'll request them to mention 1 or 2 key points, say within a minute or 2, so that we are able to finish this particular session. I'm sorry about it, but I think we do not have any other option. Now I request Dr. Gaurav Gupta, who is the public health specialist in World Health Organizations, to share some key points.
Thank you so much, sir. I would just share a few points as mentioned by sir. So, just coming to the National Injury Surveillance System, I mean, we have heard a lot about the police data that is already existing, but I would like to just point out that we not only have the police data, but also, as mentioned by Taji, that we have the insurance data, and it is readily available. Perhaps we can triangulate that, number one. Number two, hospitals. So, anybody who gets injured should be going to a hospital because that person needs a treatment, especially the severely injured. But let me ask from the audience here, if we have had any crash, did we go to a hospital and did that get registered in a police or something like that? Yes or no? No, right. So that means the data is definitely grossly underestimated. That was my second point that I wanted to make. Third point, hospital data. So it is not that hospitals are not registering all this data, they are not recording this data, but the problem is, like, AIIMS has a very good data, but that remains with AIIMS. RML has very good data, it remains with RML hospital. Similarly, so many hospitals across India have their data, but that remains with their hospitals. So what I mean to say is, this data needs to come to a common server, and that perhaps can also be triangulated with the police and the insurance data. Number three. Number four, we come from the insurance sector, I come from the health sector, Madam Geetam is there, so she comes from an engineering background, and there are so many sectors, and we are all debating about it. So I think that is most important, that all the different sectors have to come together if we really want any change with respect to the number of deaths and number of injuries. We already know about the Sustainable Development Goals, right? So we have two important goals, 3.6 and 11.2, that are dedicated solely to road safety. This was never happened before. This was not even mentioned in the Millennium Development Goals previously. So what I mean to mention is, if the global community is paying so much attention that there are two separate goals only for road safety, that means it is something very important. The last point that I want to make is that at a global level, we have something called the Global Road Safety Performance Targets. And India has to report every year with regards to the progress. I'm confident together when we function, we can do it and we can achieve those targets. The nearest target that we have right now is 2020, and that pertains to the development of a national, comprehensive, multi-sectoral action plan for road safety. And WHO is committed to working towards that, in combination, in coordination and collaboration with all the stakeholders, irrespective of whether the relevance is low or high. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Yeah, Pravesh, you can speak from here itself. I mean, are you want to go there? No, that's okay. Thank you.
So I will not take much time. I think there were three main issues that were highlighted by Dr. Tiwari, that data has a lot of discrepancy. Even Mrs. Lal also talked about that. And then Mr. Pillai talked about lots of data, but nobody to analyze the data. And so I just want to talk about a very simple experiment that we have done with the Delhi government, where we have opened all the data of buses. And by that I mean all the timetable data, all the routes data, and even the live bus data for all the 2,000 buses that are operated by cluster buses. You can see orange buses. So that data is now live. And we have standardized the data and we call it open data, open transit data. So open data is basically one way in which Mr. Pillai talked about the problem of analyzing the data. Once you open the data, actually there are lots of people in IT sector, in data analysts, engineers who can actually look at your data and give you, analysis and solutions to the problem that you don't even know exist. So open data is one of the solutions to many problems that we discussed. Even Mr. Gupta talked about a problem that there are lots of data, but there's no one consolidated space. So standardizing data is extremely important. And the other lesson that we learned from that experiment is to take on board, collecting data is the easiest part, and I mean, even though we don't know about it, but it's the easiest part. The most difficult part is to make sure that the user agencies actually use it. So in open data policy or in open data standard for transit, we actually made sure that Google and companies like even DTC or DIMS, these companies actually use the inferences that we draw for them. So it is basically understood with them that when we open the data, these are the things that will come out, and they are going to make the interventions once we give them the policy brief on that. So two main learnings: open the data and make sure that you actually work with the agency, especially the young researchers with me. Make sure that you work with the agency in order to make sure that they work with the data. I just want to give one last example. Mr. Hassan was here. He was talking about public transit. I have personally, and I wish he was here, I have personally gone to the traffic police maybe 50 to 100 times, and they all know me by face now. They'll say कि फिर से आ गया यहाँ पर, and I've given them that look. Buses के सामने, the bus shelters have the most, they are the most encroached by cars, and I've given them data, but nothing has come out of it. So giving data, collecting data is not as important as actually making sure that the agency uses your data. So I would say that's the only learning, lesson I had. Even though I'm a data person, but I think it's more important to work with these people than to analyze data. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pravesh. Now the last speaker is Ruchi. Ruchi, Acha, you go there. Okay, Ruchi.
So you can time me exactly for 60 seconds. I'll not take anything more. I'm just focusing and bringing a very different angle. I'm talking about how do you humanize transport policies and where are children on all of this. So how do you integrate the mobility needs in our data systems? In any case, we talk about, I have this slide where we talk about the mantra of changing the world through data-driven strategies. We look at disaggregation, standards, etc. But what I wanted to focus in my presentation was human rights and target the vulnerable. And in this case, if you look at children between 5 to 14, road accidents is the first cause of death among them. And we have in our National Urban Transport Policy talking about focus on persons and not vehicles. I want to focus on little persons and yes, not vehicles. So in any case, when you look at data management processes, the data management processes here, you need to capture a certain amount of data. You need to manage, analyze, and then strategize data. But how are we making it more human-centered? I would have definitely loved if they were posted because I'm working with a set of 50 children and I wanted to show you how 50 children of 8-year-old can read a city, inform a school, what does it mean about transportation. So if somebody could help me with the display, it would be really good. 1/3 of a billion children, they travel to school every day. And if you talk to them about how do they experience the urban environment, you will understand that just by drawings, mental maps, or by asking them what would they like to change in the city, they would have a couple of interesting ideas which even urban planners in our new age don't propose. I have with me okay. So they will exactly tell you where they feel unsafe, where do they don't feel right. So you need to talk to them, and I don't think in our whole discourse of data management and systems we include them. How do you synthesize quality evidence by the children? So if you ask a child what do they want to change, they'll exactly tell you what do they want to change, especially outside their schools. They have information like no flyovers, there should be speed limit and zebra crossing in front of our school. There should be a big ban on cars, and I don't know why this is not included in our policies, and neither have we mentioned about children in our previous presentations. They have a very rich understanding of their everyday movements, which is less than what we address as short trips. And if you look at their maps, I asked them to draw smileys, happy and sad. Where do they don't like? So everywhere where you see a park, friend's house, there's a smiley, happy one. And wherever you see parking, garbage, no zebra crossing, they have very sulky faces. This is the school record, and what you see is the school, in fact, doesn't see children's movements in terms of, people, but it sees as logistics. So who has to disburse where from the gate is their responsibility, and how would it be better if data systems would look at something more intentional? We also mark them as unintentional injuries, but as an architect, urban designer, I really think this is all intentional. We are intentionally designing our environments to kill our children. And ending it with this theme by Sustainable Development Goals where you say it's a people's agenda. So let's make it a little person's agenda. And all those 224 children who don't come back to their homes, they should be coming back to their homes in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruchi. In fact, at the end, I have only to apologize. I have to apologize to the distinguished speakers that we were not able to give them enough time. In fact, we should have planned for a longer session. And again, the other participants also, again, I apologize because we did not have interaction at all, which we wanted to have. And also I apologize to the next session, which could not start in time because of us. Thank you very much.